Hello everybody and welcome back to another Sai Knows a Score video, where today we are going to be discussing the newly promoted teams and what their chances are of staying up this season. So we're going to be a little bit more in depth with the analysis today, and hopefully get your guys' thoughts on it too, and see what you think, and see if any of the newly promoted teams are capable of actually staying up this season, unlike the last two pathetic seasons, shall we say. So before we get into the video, as always, please like, subscribe and comment. It really does help, and it really truly is appreciated. I always look out for your comments because, again, football is an opinionated game, isn't it? So I do always look out to see what other people think too, and maybe sway some of my opinions. So yeah, so let's get right into it then. So we're going to begin with Sunderland. Now, just a bit of background with Sunderland. So we're going to talk about the manager here as well. So, Regis Labrise. So he's still relatively new to coaching, isn't he? He only obtained his licence in 2022. He did, though, guide Lorient to 10th, but then got relegated the season afterwards. Now, I know there is some context to that. But, you could argue, though, that because they got relegated, was he somewhat fortunate to get a job like Sunderland? Maybe, maybe not, but I think one of the biggest factors for Regis Labrise is that obviously his development of key youth players was massive here. I mean, Sunderland are in recent years renowned for the youth and the talent that they bring through. So from an owner's perspective, I assume that's probably why they went for a coach like Regis, because he's obviously got the know-how of how to try and reach the potential for those young players. And I think it's fairly obvious in the transfers too. I mean, look, their business so far, for the most part, seems to be young, upcoming talents, doesn't it? I mean, look, they've all obviously chosen experienced young players, such as Habib Diarra, for example, who was the Strasbourg captain in Ligue 1. So, yeah, I mean, look, they're not just going out and buying people that have had absolutely no game time and no experience. No, they have got a profile there in that sense. And then, of course, the owner brought in his dream signing of Granit Xhaka. So yeah, of course, in the middle of the field, he's got the captain's armband, pure leadership. Won leagues before, Champions League experience, so much experience is obviously going to help with the development of talent and youth around him, and in those matches where you need that experienced head like Granit Xhaka, that's obviously why they brought him in. Now, yes, okay, they are bringing in youngsters that do have experience, but you could still argue it is a risky approach, couldn't it? Because they are still young players that may or may not have reached their peak form yet. And, as a newly promoted team, as we've seen in recent seasons, you need to come in, hit the ground running, don't you, and be really hot, just straight on it. You want everybody there to be hitting the prime straight away, don't you? And that's probably the most difficult thing about Sunderland this season, is you're still a little bit unsure as to what you're going to get from them each week, because there is a lot of youngsters in there. They have still kept some of the Championship players. I mean, look at Dan Ballard. I mean, he had a great start, didn't he, with that header and a clean sheet against West Ham. Unfortunately, did get injured, didn't he, in the Burnley game, which, from a physical and aerial perspective, that could be a big miss for Sunderland. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. For me, I do feel like they need a little bit more experience, both at the back and also at the top of the pitch. I think if they can get one or two more experienced heads at both ends of the pitch there, I think that will do them quite well, because their midfield is very strong. I mean, the likes of Xhaka, Habib Diarra, Ekitike, I mean, look, they've got legs there, haven't they, and experience. So from a midfield perspective, you'd say that is, it's a really strong Premier League midfield. It's just the other end of the pitch where my biggest worry for Sunderland will be. And then when you even look at the tactical side of it, they primarily play 4-3-3, which I think is obviously probably the most common formation nowadays, especially in the Premier League. I mean, it just allows really good balance across the whole pitch, doesn't it, a 4-3-3. So I understand why teams do play that. They've have mixed it up though, especially in the Championship, where sometimes they have played a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-4-2 depending on the opposition. I know against Leeds they went 4-2-3-1 and were more about the counter-attacking approach. So it does show there, and credible, give credit to Regis Labrie there that he's adaptable and flexible in his tactical approach. So I do feel, dependent on the opponent, he will do that. I mean, we haven't seen it so far because they have played Burnley, who obviously was a disappointing loss for them, and is a team that you want to stay up. Burnley, you're going to have to try and get 6 points against, aren't you, or minimum 4, which they can't do now. So already a slight slip up there. However, did beat West Ham, who, in my opinion, are going to be down there too. Now, in terms of again back to the tactical area for Sunderland, I think when you do see them up against a Man City, a Liverpool, I think you are going to see them trying to be adaptable in the tactics there, and you will see a 4-2-3-1. I don't think you'll see a 5 at the back. I don't think I've seen Regis Labrie, correct me if I'm wrong, Sunderland fans or anyone else, I don't think I've seen him play 5 at the back, but maybe given his flexibility with tactically, you might even see that at some point. So yeah, he's a pragmatic manager, and I think for a new promoted team that is definitely something good to have, especially at this stage where Sunderland are. So yeah, look out for that. And then of course you've got the Stadium of Light, which is obviously another huge factor for them. I mean, that opening game, which I suppose it is for most, if not all, Premier League clubs, the first game at home in the Premier League season. Everyone's got their energy back, haven't they, after having to go through a grueling almost 2 months of no football. So yeah, that's going to be big for them this season. If they can make that a bit of a fortress where they can have as many wins as losses at home, I think that will obviously, may even see them over the line, because in my opinion you need probably 9-10 wins and then a few draws as well, don't you, to be able to get to the points of 38-40 points. That's going to help you stay up. So yeah, I'd say so far it's been an okay start. They've had some nice fixtures, Sunderland, haven't they? West Ham, Burnley, and now Brentford at home. Again, Brentford, another team who a lot of people are arguably saying are going to be down there. So one to look out for. I think if they lose against Brentford, I think, there could be some warning signs already there for Sunderland, because that'll be 3 points against three teams that you need to pick up as many points up against. That brings us nicely on to Burnley. So yeah, Scott Parker. Now, as we know, he's been at Fulham previously, where I thought he did well. It was his first proper job, wasn't it? So yeah, he took over from Ranieri, I believe, at the time. Unfortunately, did go down with Fulham, but kept his job and did really well. I would say he had, for a team in the Championship, it was a very strong team, and arguably you would say that he should have got promoted with Fulham, because given the team they had. I mean, especially when you've got the likes of Mitrovic up there. I mean, he scores just goals for fun in the Championship, as we've previously seen, where he broke the goal record, I believe, didn't he, in the Championship. So there you go. Now he's also been at Bournemouth again, where he had a really strong team for the Championship. Got over the line with them. It wasn't pretty, but he got over the line with them, didn't he? And then went on to make some interesting comments, didn't he? Which, okay, yes, Bournemouth, you could say, weren't Prem ready at the time, but maybe he could have gone about it a little bit differently. I'm sure he's learned his lessons from that and won't be speaking his mind quite the same again if he has any issues with any of the transfer business that Burnley have done so far, which we'll get onto shortly, by the way. Then he ended up going to Bruges, in the way he really did struggle. Now, how much can you take from it? I mean, look, Bruges are a team in the Belgian League that are probably expected to win the Belgian League every season. I think it picked up not many points whatsoever. It was in single digits out of 20 odd points, I believe, and then he got the boot, didn't he? So yeah, it wasn't good for him, and struggled in the Champions League too under Park, I believe. With that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. And then Burnley. So yeah, Burnley. Last season, again, parachute payment club. So he's done well with the clubs he's got involved with. They've all been parachute payments, so arguably always expected to get promoted or there or thereabouts. I didn't think Burnley, I know they had the same amount of points as Leeds last season, 100, and getting 100 points is it's a great feat to have, isn't it? I didn't think they looked anywhere near as good as Leeds in terms of performances across the whole season. You might think I'm biased being a Leeds fan, but I promise you I'm trying to be as neutral as possible here. I think their defensive qualities was obviously what saw them through, and now they've lost the likes of Trafford. They've lost Brownhill, who provided 18 goals for them too. Have they replaced well there? Yet to be seen. I do think, they do need a lot more quality going forward, both in defence, midfield, and in attack. So I think they need a really strong marquee sign in each area. Is Dubravka the keeper for them? Again, look, he's obviously Prem experienced, but he's obviously been on the bench for quite a lot of the time. So we'll see in that regards. When he's good at Trafford, you probably wouldn't say he is, but you never know. So yeah, I think they do need more quality across the board if they're going to have a chance of staying up here. I think they've mainly taken on the likes of like Jadon Anthony, who's always been shipped out on loan from Bournemouth, so they don't see him as Premier League quality or for the level that they want to be at. Is it good enough for 17th place? I don't think so personally. I do think their players are mainly upper Championship quality / really low end Premier League quality, and having that mix together, I think it's just going to be a 20th place finish for me. So yeah, transfers is definitely going to be key. But look, Parker, we've seen, can organise a team. Conceded 3 though in the opening game against Spurs, which really does put into perspective the difference in level between the Championship and the Premiership, doesn't it? Burnley have commonly gone with a 4-2-3-1, I believe, but it can go with a 4-4-2 as we've seen, and recently 5 at the back against Spurs too. So yeah, I think in those regards, it's there's potential for them to maybe not concede and leak too many goals, which I think they're going to be going for this season. I don't think they'll be scoring too many. Look, they had a great win, didn't they, against Sunderland? Look, I'm not taking anything away from it. I thought that game was pretty even for the most part, and Sunderland could have got ahead in that game in the early stages of that game. And look, if Sunderland going to score, it could be a completely different game. I think the game overall was fairly balanced at Turf Moor. And again, you're going to have a fortress, aren't you, in order for them to have a chance of staying up there. So overall, I think it's going to be too much for Burnley though, and I can see Parker maybe even getting the boot this season, unfortunately for them. So, or for him even. So yeah, watch that space for sure. And that brings us on to my rollercoaster of emotions, Leeds United, where yeah, it's been an interesting start for them, hasn't it? I mean, before we do delve into the first 2 matches, obviously got Daniel Farke at the helm, renowned Championship manager, isn't he? He's won probably the most points consistently, or on average, I feel like an average points per game. But he's got the highest of any manager, I believe. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's right. Now, Daniel Farke has been at Norwich, of course, as we know. Got promoted with them twice, got relegated with them twice. Now, it was a bit unfortunate because he didn't have the finance did he at Norwich. So there is context to be applied with Daniel Farke. He is technically Prem experienced now, isn't he? So yeah, and then he went to Mönchengladbach, where he didn't have the best performances, and they were struggling a bit. And I think they had higher expectations of him, which inevitably led him to get in the boot there. Came back to Leeds, didn't he? And I mean, look, he's renowned to be quite a stubborn manager. He has his principles of play, doesn't he? Where he likes control, so he will be looking for as much possession, as much of the ball as possible. Of course, when you come up against the likes of an Arsenal, Man City, it's not going to happen, and I'm sure he's aware of that. And I've heard his press conferences that he is aware of that. So I'd like to think he's wise enough to know that, especially with him being a football manager. So yeah, he'll stick to his principles. He's less likely to be flexible in his tactics. I don't think you're going to see Leeds go 5 at the back anytime soon. I mean, look, we went away to Arsenal and tried playing exactly the same way, so I don't think it's going to change. And I think a person you could really compare him to is Russell Martin. I mean, you look at him at Rangers so far, he's struggling at Rangers too, which in a league where there's only 2 clubs and you're struggling there, it's not good, is it? And I mean, Russell Martin at Southampton was quite stubborn, and he tried to play exactly the same, didn't he, against every team. I do think Leeds transfers the transfers so far have been better for Leeds than Sunderland in terms of player quality. Obviously, of course, they are still looking to bring in another couple of bodies in attack for Leeds, which is definitely necessary if they're going to have any real chance of staying up the season. I don't think Dan James, Nonto and Peru are the answers. Plus, you've brought in Okafor and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who are quite injury prone, so yeah, you definitely need another couple of bodies in there and a little bit of luck as well with injuries this season. I think if it all comes together for Leeds, then I think they'll stay up. But yeah, I mean, looking at the transfers in general, I mean, their general profile of players has been around 25 years of age, all of them that are in or thereabouts of their prime. And they've obviously now finished their transfer business from the keeper, defence and midfield now. It's all about attack. They brought James Justin in too. So I think that they'll feel comfortable in that regard. Yes, they shipped 5 against Arsenal. I just think that Daniel Farke needs to learn from that quickly. He needs to adapt there, and Peru against Gabriel and Saliba is just never going to work. He's not physical enough. He doesn't put his body about like a Nemecha. And when Nemecha came on, it made such a difference. It made a bit of a difference. He was actually, winning balls, and he was putting his body about, and you could see it was making a bit of a difference. So yeah, I think if you're playing Dan James, you've got to have Nemecha or Dominic Calvert-Lewin in. If you play in Peru, I don't see where Dan James really fits in the balance of the attack there. It is a bit baffling to me. So, yeah, if you see those two on the team sheet at any point this season, it could be worrying unless you're playing Burnley at home, where maybe they feel like we'll have the overall edge of quality and with the home fans behind us. That's the only type of game where those two might actually work together. But even then, I'd still be concerned. So yeah, I mean, last season Leeds were primarily a 4-2-3-1. Seems to be 4-3-3 this season, when you've got the likes of Stash, Ampadu when he's fit, which he will be after the international break hopefully, and then also I've forgotten his name. My own player, I forgot his name, not Longstaff. It'd be good if I knew my own team, wouldn't it? It's a blooper. I'm tempted to keep it in, just so you know that we all do have our faults, even as a fan of your own team. But yeah, so Ampadu, Stash and Tanaka, dearie me, we got there in the end. How could I forget AOA? Ayo. So yeah, I mean, that's a good balance in midfield for me. Gruev isn't press resistant for me, so I think when you're putting him in trying to pass out the back against a team like Arsenal, it's never going to end well. So you have to change your tactics according to the players you have, and I think that's where Farke might slip up, especially if we have injuries. If you've got the team fit, I think we'll look good. If we have injuries in those key areas, not so much, and you've got to play Longstaff. You've got to play Longstaff over Gruev. It just doesn't make sense to me not to put Longstaff in there over Gruev. The quality for me is night and day. But anyway, that's my opinion, and I'm going to stick by it, so I don't think anyone will sway me from that one. But of course, Ellen Road is a bit like saying of like, going to be a big factor this season to make it a fortress. So just under 38,000 people. We saw in the first game against Everton just how lively it was, and if the Leeds fans can do that every single game, then it's going to be tough for any opponent going there. I mean, maybe not so much Liverpool or Man City, but you never know. Stranger things have happened, haven't they? So for me, when you look at these teams in general, you look at the manager, you look at the tactics, you look at the transfer business, you look at the stadium and the atmosphere, aren't you? And for me, I think it comes together more for Sunderland and Leeds than it does Burnley right now. And then on the flip side, teams that could potentially come down, you have got West Ham, haven't you? Where Graham Potter, again, a little bit stubborn in his tactical approach. Does he have the players to be able to do it? They're struggling in both ends of the boxes. I think the middle of the park, they aren't too bad. They win duels. They're able to hold the ball. They just don't seem to have that quality at both ends of the pitch, which is going to be their downfall. And again, if Potter doesn't adapt, I don't really think it's any fault of his own. He just needs the players. He just needs 80 to 100 million spent, doesn't he, before the end of the transfer window on good quality players that are going to come straight into the squad, hit the ground running, going to be able to provide a block, defend, and then also actually score a goal. I don't think Fulkrug is the man for the job up top, and maybe West Ham fans will agree with me there. They've got a lot of them booing the owners out there and want them out, understandably so. West Ham last season, I thought they did well to get 14th, especially from how they began under Lopetegui, where they conceded They conceded 3 goals on 8 occasions in the first 20 games, and on the pot they did manage to prevent shipping in as many goals there, when he only conceded 3 goals once against Brighton in the 18 games that he was in charge of last season. But already we're now seeing Lopetegui-esque from last season, unfortunately for West Ham fans, where 8 goals in 2 games is the worst, or it's the most goals conceded for West Ham in a Premier League campaign after 2 games. So yeah, one to look out for there. I think the transfer business definitely needs to improve. West Ham fans understandably frustrated. How much will they be behind the team? I don't know. I think the atmosphere might be a little bit tainted at times, especially if they don't bring any bodies in and the results don't improve. And you could easily see them slip into 19th in the Premier League here, and seeing a Leeds and Sunderland perhaps getting it over them, and maybe even a team like Brentford. So yeah, watch that space for West Ham. Brentford again are an unknown entity, aren't they? Keith Andrews at the helm. We don't really know what to expect from him. Got a good win against Villa. How much can you take from the game? They didn't look overly impressive, but they got over the line. They were stubborn. So yeah, they're going to have to be very stubborn a lot this season, aren't they? Nick a goal here and there. I mean, they've lost in Burmo, vizeh, Norgard too. So they've lost a lot of quality there, haven't they? Especially in the top end of the pitch for Brentford there. So they need a few more bodies coming in, you would imagine. And again, we don't know what to expect of Keith Andrews tactically right now, apart from maybe them being good at set pieces, but yet to see them doing anything at set pieces. So one to look out for. I think a lot of people and myself are going to tip them to be in and around the relegation zone this season, understandably so. Losing Frank, who's obviously done so much for Brentford, is a massive blow, isn't it? And the biggest blow of them all, because even when you're trying to attract these players, people want to go to Brentford with a Keith Andrews. Maybe not as much as obviously as attractive as Thomas Frank, not physically that is, but yeah, obviously Frank from a football perspective is a more attractive place to go than a Keith Andrews, isn't it? So yeah. So Brentford for me, I could see them slipping into 18th position. So I think for me, Leeds, Sunderland, West Ham, and Brentford are going to be the 4 teams that are going to be battling it out for that 16th and 17th place. I think Burnley might be too much for them, but we'll see. You never know. West Ham could just completely lose it this season. The feeling could be really bad, and they could end up in 20th. I mean, stranger things have happened. But yeah, so let me know what all you guys think too in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe. It really does help and means a lot. So yeah, and I do read every comment too that comes in. I will reply where possible. I do work nights, so bear with me on that if I'm not replying through the day, but I will get back to you as soon as I can there. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, we'll see you in your next one, and bye for now.